President of the United States getting ready to answer reporters' questions. He's in Mexico City with his Mexican counterpart, the President of Mexico, Enrique Peña Nieto. They're asking some questions. First questions coming from Mexican journalist Gloria Borger. As we await the president as he's getting ready to answer some questions, U.S.-Mexican relations, obviously a critically important issue. Illegal border crossings, if you will, comprehensive immigration reform. The president keeps saying, once again, he's just said again today, he's pretty optimistic the Congress will pass what he describes as comprehensive immigration reform this time around.
And that has large implications here, obviously, and also implications for border security, which I think the president was just talking about. The Mexican president doesn't want to get involved in a domestic political issue in this country, yet at the same time, he's very concerned about border enforcement. He's also concerned about protections for migrant workers. And the Mexican economy is growing. The number of people coming into this country illegally, by the way, Wolf, is decreasing. There are going to be issues also about drug interdiction, and this is a president, the new president of Mexico, who's been very confrontational with the United States about how much they should interfere in terms of drug interdiction within Mexico's borders. So those are all topics clearly for discussion, but particularly for this president, the issue of border security, both domestically and in Mexico.
Yeah, the new Mexican president took office December 1st. He then came, he was here in Washington, met with the president. I had a chance to interview him. He's young. He's obviously a great politician to get elected to be president of Mexico. He's got huge issues from Mexico. The United States is the most important trading partner for the United States. Mexico is the third largest trading partner. So there's huge economic issues at stake right now as well.
There are economic issues at stake. I think both of these presidents are very heavily invested in increasing trade between these two countries. And again, the Mexican economy is growing. It's growing at a faster rate, actually, Wolf, than our own economy.
Yeah, and that's why there's fewer and fewer Mexicans trying to come into the United States, because there are more jobs presumably available over there. You know, a lot of folks believe, Gloria, that comprehensive immigration reform, president's got supporting it, Marco Rubio supporting it, John McCain supporting it. It'll probably pass the Senate. The question is the House of Representatives.
Right.
What happens to that bill once it goes to the House of Representatives?
Well, even Senator Rubio has raised questions about whether the Senate Republican version of the bill could pass the House. And the answer is right now it could not. John Boehner's got problems with that on his side. There are lots of other issues they're going to have to be dealing with, lots of other economic issues. And I think that is a problem that House Republicans are trying to deal with right now. There are some Republicans who don't want to have a comprehensive bill. They'd rather do it piecemeal, do the border security part of it first, and then do the rest later. But that's going to be a big obstacle. Right now, the president holding back on it, letting the Senate do its work.
And as you know, one of the so-called poison pills potentially could be if the legislation in the House, for example, were to give a legal status or pathway to citizenship for same-sex partners. Marco Rubio says, that probably wouldn't fly either among a lot of Republicans and some Democrats in the Senate, probably not fly in the House of Representatives either. But there are a lot of Democrats who want to make sure that same-sex partners get the full benefits of this new legislation that heterosexual couples get.
And what Republicans are saying is, you're asking us to take all these difficult votes at once. You're asking us to do difficult votes on gun control, as Dana Bash was talking about. You're asking us to do difficult votes on immigration, and now you're throwing same-sex marriage.
The president is now answering that question. Let's listen in.
What has obviously been a serious problem, and we are very much looking forward to cooperating in any ways that we can to battle organized crime, as President Peña Nieto stated. And we anticipate that there's going to be strong cooperation, that on our side of the border we have continued work to do to reduce demand and to try to stem the flow of guns and cash from north to south. So this is a partnership that will continue. I think that President Peña Nieto and his team are organizing a vision about how they can most efficiently and effectively address these issues, and we will interact with them in ways that are appropriate respecting that ultimately Mexico has to deal with its problems internally, and we have to deal with ours as well. With respect to the president's agenda, we had a wonderful relationship with President Calderon and the previous administration. The bonds between our two countries go beyond party. If a Republican president replaces me, there's still going to be great bonds between Mexico and the United States because not just of geography, but friendship and our interactions. But what I have been impressed with is the president's boldness in his reform agenda. He's tackling big issues, and that's what the times demand. We live in a world that is changing rapidly. And in both the United States and in Mexico, we can't be caught flat-footed as the world advances. We have to make sure that our young people are the best educated in the world, and that means that some of the old ways of educating our kids may not work. We have to make sure that we're staying at the forefront of science and technology, and that means we've got to make sure that we're investing in those areas appropriately. We have to make certain that our economies are competitive around the world, and that when it comes to energy, that we're addressing issues like climate change, but also making sure that it's done in a way that's creating jobs and businesses on both sides of the border. And so, what I very much appreciate is the president's willingness to take on hard issues, because sometimes I think there's a temptation once somebody's elected to just stay elected, as opposed to trying to make sure that we use our time as well as we can to bring about the kinds of changes that will help move the country forward.
From the U.S. Press, Julie Pace of the Associated Press.
Thank you, Mr. President. Administration officials, including Secretary Hagel, say that the U.S. is now more seriously considering sending weapons to the Syrian rebels. How has your thinking on the effectiveness of such a step evolved as the violence in Syria has continued? And do you now see lethal aid as the best option available for a U.S. escalation in Syria? I also had a question on immigration that I was hoping you both could address. Senator Rubio said today that the immigration bill being considered on Capitol Hill may not pass the Senate unless the border security measures are strengthened. Are you concerned that an effort to bolster those border security triggers may make a pathway to citizenship almost impossible for many people already in the U.S. illegally, including many Mexicans? Thank you.
Well, first of all, on Syria, what Secretary Hagel said today is what I've been saying now for months, which is we are continually evaluating the situation on the ground, working with our international partners to find the best way to move a political transition that has Assad leaving, stabilizes the country, ends the killing, and allows the Syrian people to determine their own destiny. And we've made enormous investments, not just in humanitarian aid, but also in helping the opposition organize itself and make sure that it has a consistent vision about how it's operating. And as we've seen evidence of further bloodshed, potential use of chemical weapons inside of Syria, what I've said is that we're going to look at all options. And we know that there are countries that are currently providing lethal aid to the opposition. We also know that the Assad regime is getting not just lethal aid, but also training and support from countries outside of Syria. And we want to evaluate and make sure that every step that we take advances the day when Assad is gone, and you have people inside of Syria who are able to determine their own destiny rather than engage in a long, bloody sectarian war. And we'll continue to evaluate that every step of the way. But as I mentioned at my press conference back in D.C., we want to make sure that we look before we leap, and that what we're doing is actually helpful to the situation as opposed to making it more deadly or more complex. With respect to immigration reform, I expressed to President Peña Nieto that I'm optimistic about us getting this done because it's the right thing to do. We've seen leaders from both parties indicate that now's the time to get comprehensive immigration reform done. And part of what we discussed is the importance of getting it done precisely because we do so much business between our two countries that for us to constantly bog down on these border issues and debates instead of moving forward with a 21st century border that's maintaining security and that is making sure that legal immigration and legal trade and commerce is facilitated, but at the same time ensures that we're not seeing a lot of illegal traffic and allows us to continue to be a nation of immigrants that has contributed so much to the wealth and prosperity of our nation. If we're going to get that done, now's the time to do it. And the bill that Senator Rubio and others put forward, I think, is a great place to start. It doesn't contain everything I want. And I suspect that the final legislation will not contain everything I want. It won't contain everything that Republican leaders want either. But if we can get a basic framework that secures our border, building on the extraordinary success we've already had and the cooperation we've had with the Mexican government, that cracks down on employers who are not taking the law seriously, that streamlines and enhances our legal immigration system, because the problems with the legal immigration system often force people into the illegal immigration system, and provides a pathway to citizenship for those who are currently living in the shadows inside of the United States. If it has those elements, then we should be able to build on that, and we can have arguments about other elements of this as we go further, but that's the core of what we need. And frankly, we've put enormous resources into border security. Don't take my word for it. You had folks like Senator McCain and Senator Graham come down to the border and see the progress that's been made. There are areas where there's still more work to be done. Some of it, by the way, is not simply securing the United States from illegal traffic. Some of it is also improving the infrastructure, which we talked about, for commerce to be able to come in smoothly, which creates jobs and helps our businesses both in the United States and in Mexico. But what I'm not going to do is to go along with something where we're looking for an excuse not to do it, as opposed to a way to do it. And I think we can. I think if all sides operate in faith, that can be accomplished.
Sobre ese tema.
All right, so there you have the President of the United States. He's still hopeful that there can be comprehensive immigration reform. We're going to have a lot more on this coming up. Happening now, a potential game changer in Syria's civil war. The Obama administration revealing it is now revisiting the idea of arming the rebels. Plus, hard partying pals. New information about the relationship between the Boston bombing suspect Jahar Tsarnaev and the friends accused of trying to cover his tracks. And new leads on the possible cause of a fiery 747 crash. Deep concerns about the cargo and whether a disaster like this could happen again. I'm Wolf Blitzer. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. You're in the Situation Room.